Right from the get-go in the Emmanuel Haro case, everyone already automatically, immediately knew that the parents were lying. Before we knew anything about Rebecca, before we even knew her name, before we knew anything about Jake's criminal past, all of us, and I do mean all of us, we all already thought that they were lying. And then, of course, details started coming out. Rebecca's lies started getting exposed. Jake's criminal history got brought up. And it really started looking bad. And obviously, if you do something to a child, you're a bad person. And we were looking at Jake's prior charges. And everyone, we got that bad feeling like, oh man, has Jake struck again? He has a history of hurting kids. Has he hurt another kid? But even at that time, I don't think any of us were prepared for the kind of details that have come out over the past few days about Jake. Details that I can't even get into here on YouTube without them taking down one of my videos, which, by the way, I tried to put out a detailed video about some of what Jake has been accused of last night, and YouTube said, way too many words there that you can't be saying here. So, I'm sure you guys have seen some of it, and we still don't really know the half of it. But it looks like Jake is a complete monster, and I know some of you may be saying, of course these parents are complete monsters. They probably did something to little baby Emmanuel, and yeah, I agree, but I think it may be worse than what we think. I don't think, how can I put this? I'm not going to say that whatever happened to Emmanuel wasn't some sort of accident that the parents are trying to cover up, because maybe it was. But if what we're hearing is true about Jake, and we know some of it is true for a fact, but there's other stories out there as well, okay? There's other times that he supposedly hurt kids and didn't get charged. If these rumors, if this information is true, then I think Jake, I think he is worse than any of us imagined. I think that he has something for hurting kids. I think it's beyond, because people are saying, oh, Jake must have anger issues. Look at Rebecca, she has the black eye. He hurt a kid in the past, and Emmanuel's missing, he has anger issues. No, I think this goes beyond anger issues. I'm not saying like full serial killer mode, but this guy has a thing for hurting babies. Okay? Because from what we're hearing, it's not just one, it's not just two. We're looking at 3, maybe even 4 babies, counting Emmanuel, that this man has been involved in hurting, some of which allegedly are never going to be the same again because of brain damage and all kinds of stuff. So we're looking at a situation here where I don't think these are just 2 parents who maybe made a mistake and an accident happened to their kid and they're trying to cover it up. No, I think we have someone who just has a thing. I don't know, maybe it makes him feel powerful. I don't know what it is. But for you to hurt multiple babies after you've already ruined a child's life in the past, and if you know what he has done in the past, which, like I said, I can't even get into full detail, I don't understand why he's still out here walking around this earth. He should have been taken out by now, or at the very least, he should be behind bars. But it's crazy that people can do horrible things to kids, and they get off. Like, you get a lesser charge than if you did something bad to an adult. Meanwhile, Jake has already ruined a child's life, and we're not even talking about Emmanuel. We're talking about another kid. He has already ruined a child's life completely before the child even had a chance to really live. And now he's got another kid missing. Now, they talked about this a little bit on the news. They get away with saying things that I can't really say here. So I'm going to roll this clip. Hopefully, YouTube allows this video to stay up. I mean, all I'm trying to do is expose someone who hurts kids. YouTube doesn't like when you do that, though. So make sure, if you're seeing this right now, share this video, like this video. If you would like to support the channel further, you could donate via Cash App or Super Thanks, because YouTube is really trying to shut conversations like this one down. I'm going to go ahead and roll this news clip, though, and then I'll be right back with more thoughts.
Rebecca Haro has now stopped cooperating with police after these inconsistencies emerged in her story, according to police. She said, as I just said with our other guest, that she was at her son's football game. She left with the baby. She told police to go to the store. Nobody at the football game ever saw the baby. She also said she got a black eye when she was hit by the abductor. But now there are reports she may have had that black eye for many days, even weeks prior to this alleged attack.
Right, exactly. Her statement had so many holes, Elizabeth. Whenever you look at somebody who's making a statement like this, you look at a linear track. Does it make sense in terms of the time frame that she's giving? And it doesn't. It's all over the place. As she states items, it's as if she's making them up. That black eye is not a recent black eye. Speaking as a tactical medic, that is a healing black eye from some time ago. She spoke of baby Haro in the past tense. And by the way, Elizabeth, when is the last time anybody has seen Emmanuel?
That's a good question. Lauren, how quickly did her story fall apart, and how quickly did suspicion turn possibly to her for police? We just heard from people in the community, but what about police?
I think that there were eyes on this family for quite some time. As you mentioned, there were these charges that the family has. Their stories were not they were not the same. Both the father and the mother, their stories change. In one story, she's saying that she got hit from behind after hearing Ola. And then in another story, she's saying that she received the black eye after being hit in the front. Things got very confusing. And on social media, when people started discussing this, especially those that are local and those further away, as the story started to spread, people were comparing notes and sharing different interviews with the different media outlets and pointing out these inconsistencies. And so I can only imagine that the law enforcement was a lot more tight-lipped than, comments on social media. But from comments on social media, I imagine that law enforcement was right there as well, wondering and comparing the inconsistencies.
And then, Jennifer, we have these really disturbing this criminal history from the baby's father, Jake Haro, who was found guilty of felony child cruelty along with his, not this current wife, Rebecca, but his previous wife. They had a 10-week-old daughter who suffered terrible injuries, including acute rib fracture, 6 healing rib fractures, skull fracture, brain hemorrhage, swelling of the neck, and a healing leg fracture. Jake told authorities he had dropped the baby while bathing her and then proceeded to blame his then-wife for the rest of the injuries. Those injuries were on a 10-week-old baby.
Right, exactly, Elizabeth. And when you look at somebody who has that sort of a history, that tends to follow patterns. People don't just stop abusing their children. And typically people who don't abuse their children all of a sudden abuse their children. Those injuries were in various stages of healing. I think this is a very cruel and vicious person that could do such damage to a young infant.
To a 10-week-old. We don't know what happened in the case of the 7-month-old. Lauren, Jake and Rebecca Haro have a 2-year-old son and another older son. Do we know what's happened to them as this investigation goes forward?
Child Protective Services has stepped in. And so you can only imagine if this alleged kidnapping, Elizabeth, is true. Can you imagine that not only are they looking for their 7-month-old, they're also grieving now children that are no longer with them because CPS has stepped in. And so, I mean, and none of us know, right? Only law enforcement will be able to tell us in the end. And so I think, though, that also looks suspicious. And as Jennifer pointed out, this past charge does not look good. And the fact that CPS has now stepped in is very, very concerning.
But also those children might be witnesses, especially not the 2-year-old, but the older child.
Absolutely. And again, we don't know when the last time anyone saw Emmanuel, baby Emmanuel, right? If he wasn't at the football practice, when was the last time anyone saw him? And if those children saw something, they could be able to tell us when the last time anyone saw baby Emmanuel.
So basically, long story short, Jake has a thing for hopping woman to woman and hurting their baby. He hops to a woman, they get married, they have a baby, he hurts the baby. Then he hops to another woman, they have a baby, he hurts the baby. Rinse, wash, repeat. He does it over and over again. This is his thing, okay? And I don't know. Once you do that 2 or 3 times, I think there's something more than just, oh, he's an angry, violent person, or he has, anger issues, or even, I think it's more than that. This guy is a sicko, okay? Now, as you heard, or I don't know how closely you guys were paying attention, but he's done this in the past, and then he tried to place the blame on his wife or his girlfriend, baby mama, whatever you want to call it. So you all know how this story goes, right? You all know where this is going to end up. Because history repeats itself. Jake has a certain way of operating. And I think it's been fascinating because the lawyer has said multiple times that Jake is cooperating. Jake is willing to cooperate. Jake is cooperating with police. He never mentions Rebecca. He says Jake is cooperating. He doesn't say Rebecca's cooperating. Now, I know that the lawyer only represents Jake. He's not Rebecca's lawyer. And I think that's weird. Rebecca hasn't lawyered up. Jake has. So I think that we're headed down a route where when push comes to shove, when they realize, or when Jake realizes they ain't getting away with this because they ain't getting away with it, I think if all else fails, last ditch effort, he's going to try to place all the blame on Rebecca because he's done it in the past and he's going to do it again, folks. He's going to do it again. I think that's where this is headed, and I think the lawyer might even know where that's where this is headed. But we'll see. I'm going to keep my eye on this case. I'll be covering this case across multiple channels, so make sure you're subscribed to them both. While you're here, though, drop your thoughts in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll talk to you all very soon in the next one.